Hi everyone, thanks for joining us and welcome to Making a Difference Made Easy, brought to you by No Place for Poverty. My name's Alex.
And I'm Tasha.
And in this video, we break poverty down into simple to understand chunks that help you discover easy but meaningful ways that you can make a difference right in your local community. Firstly, we're going to look at poverty in WA and why No Place for Poverty exists. Then we hope to inspire you with some examples of everyday Aussies doing good stuff. Thirdly, we'll take you through a guided approach to help you understand what actions you might like to take. And finally, we'll finish up with some ways that we can support you. Please do see the link for the resource pack. This will be handy when we get to section 3 and we take you through that guided approach.
Before we get started, you might be thinking poverty is a pretty big problem. How can I do anything that will actually help? Or you might be super busy and think I can only do something really small. We understand. So it might be helpful to know that our approach really believes that lots of people doing small things will result in a big collective change. We're saying, do what you can. Make the decision to do rather than not do. With what you've got, don't wait for someday in the future when you may have more time or money. The time to act is now. And where you are, you can't do it all, so just start right where you are. The ripple effects of your positive actions will spread further than you think.
Okay, so before we tell you more about No Place for Poverty, I first want to tell you about what's happening in WA in relation to poverty and inequality. So poverty in Western Australia has been increasing for some time. Over the last 10 years or so, we estimate there's around 13% of our population living in poverty. That's around 360,000 people. It's a similar story for inequality. So since 2009, the bottom 90% of Australians have received just 7% of the economic growth per person, while the top 10% have reaped 93% of the benefits. That's nearly half of all wealth being held by the highest 10% of households. So in simple terms, that means the rich are getting richer, the poor are getting poorer, and that middle income group is slowly being squeezed and slowly moving towards that poverty line. That means 1 in 8 West Australians adults and 1 in 6 children are living below the poverty line. And that's enough people to fill Optus Stadium 6 times over. So what is No Place for Poverty? So we're a social movement that brings West Australians together to find common ground and build a stronger, fairer WA. As a community-powered movement, we're shining a light on the growing reality of poverty in WA and bringing people together to take action and push for systemic change. Why? Because we all believe in a fair go, and it's time to make that a reality for everyone, not just for those people who can afford it. Our vision is to help create a fair, just and compassionate Western Australia where everyone has the right to reach their potential. So we want to inform, unite and mobilise WA to create fairer systems and end poverty. Ending poverty is the right thing to do for many reasons. It's not in our heart to allow people to struggle. Economically, all the evidence tells us it's expensive to not do anything about it. And it's not in our potential to leave 13% of our team on the bench, all that potential being locked up when they could be contributing as they want to society. So if we're going to end poverty, first we have to look at what leads people towards a good life. So on the screen now, hopefully you can see our model of foundations for a good life. At the heart of that is adequate income. So if you have the money, the means, you can meet all those other needs around it. Health and well-being, a place to call home, and a good start to life. And that's all interlinked with a sense of belonging, community perception that adds up to having opportunity and choice. The flip side of that is if those needs are not met, then you start to fall into the poverty trap, and it's really hard to get out of once you're there. For instance, if you don't have adequate income, you don't have enough money to cover life's essentials. If you don't have the resources to get your health needs met, you're more likely to get chronic health conditions. If you don't have sufficient housing or any housing, you have no place to call home, which is a foundational component to leading a good life. And if you don't have a good start to life, we know the long-term ramifications of that. Children who grow up in poverty are 3.3 times more likely to stay in poverty as an adult. And finally, perception and belonging. Everyone wants to feel like they belong and they're connected to their community. And we know people in poverty often feel othered and disconnected. Poverty prevents people from participating meaningfully in their own lives and in their community. and it takes away their opportunity and their choices. Now, when we're starting to look at solutions, it's really important we consider upstream versus downstream. Upstream is towards the root causes. If we can have an impact on people's income and also their childhood, we're more likely to have bigger impacts on the issue of poverty. Downstream is more the symptoms. So things like material deprivation, putting food on people's table, clothing, helping pay bills, keeping them from being socially isolated. Now, No Place for Poverty is a combined effort. We're going to be working hard to advocate for those root cause issues, but everybody taking the steps they can to contribute to all those areas, including the symptoms, is really important. Anything we can do to alleviate people's suffering and helping them to live a good life is a good thing. Okay, so this is a video. Damien and Alison are going to talk about how poverty impacts their lives and start to consider, when you're listening to their lived experience, how community could come to the table and help.
I'm Damien. I've lived in poverty most of my life. I grew up in it. My parents grew up in it. Yeah, I didn't even realise eating baked beans and stuff like that most nights was poverty line. Just thought it was just the way everyone was. Didn't have lunch orders. Mum and Dad would try and send us on all the excursions and stuff like that, but sometimes you wouldn't want to take home the note for the excursion because you know that would mean Mum and Dad to have to struggle for you to go on something that wasn't really all that necessary. It wouldn't seem necessary to you, but maybe it was necessary to your education, but you wouldn't yourself class as necessary because that would mean that maybe your brothers and sisters aren't eating, or Mum and Dad might argue over it.
And what about as you got older into your teens? What happened there?
Well, as you get older and into your teens, people, you definitely know that you're in the poverty class, you're below peak, your level of lifestyle is not as high, or your expectations aren't as high as what some other people's are. But then when you've left work and you're going to it's just even in work clothes, people would somehow just know that you're homeless. You know what I mean? It wouldn't help that you'd have a bag with all your stuff, so that sort of starts to give stuff away. You know what I mean? And just people didn't give a damn really if you had a job or not. If you were homeless, you could see the look in their eyes as that you weren't worth being around or weren't worth helping or dealing with, sort of thing. Just made you feel below human.
Yep, I'm Alison, and I used to feel that I had a very blessed life because I was an international professional dancer. Everything was what I would call pretty good. Then I became ill, so from there things just declined. My husband left, and I was left on the farm really with my dog. That was the only thing I had. And a lot of tumours. Eventually was diagnosed with a lot of tumours throughout my endocrine system, from my brain right through. And then I was very ill. Some of the tumours actually bring mental health problems. And I met a man at that time who I found out later was quite an opportunist. So through my first divorce, I came out okay. I came out with the studio and whatever. And then the second gentleman, if we could call him that, he ended up getting the lot. He was quite clever, even to the point of writing out a will for me, where he neglected to place my children in there. And so I came out of working my entire life with my car, and I think it was $17,000, and really, really ill. I was on a disability pension.
And you mentioned a home. What's your current living situation?
Do I cry now? So I've rented this home for 15 years, and I've been blessed to be able to stay here, especially having the grandchildren in my care. My landlord is actually just this week knocked on my door and told me he's putting the rent up $50 a week, which my heart just started beating in my chest really heavily, because I thought, oh my God, he doesn't realise my payments from Centrelink have just completely halved. Like, imagine if you just lost half of your income overnight because your circumstances changed, and spending 12 years investing heavily into these children for their futures, and not really looking after my own, and then suddenly being not able to pay your rent. That's frightening. It's really frightening. So I am grateful. However, there's always this underlying stress and fear that at any moment I might not have a roof over my head. And as I said to him when he's telling me he's going to put my rent up, the greatest cohort now is women in their 60s, because I'm 66. And so women over 60 who, like me, have maybe lost everything in a divorce or through medical situations, and then find themselves living in their car, you know?
Hearing from voices of lived experience of poverty is sad. It can make you feel a bit hopeless. It's really important to know that poverty is solvable. There are solutions and we can take action. So let's get inspired by hearing about everyday Aussies doing good stuff right now. For me, when I learnt that 1 in 8 adults and 1 in 6 children live in poverty, I was pretty shocked. I didn't really understand how widespread it was. It also made me start looking at things differently and realise there are things that we can be doing in lots of different ways. And so for me, I realised that when I donated my kids' leftover school stationery, that went to a family that couldn't afford it. And when we chipped in and paid for the netball players' fees for one season, she could play netball. Small things that actually make a big difference for people living in poverty. Here are 3 examples of people doing great stuff. The first ones are Dadbury. Now, I love these guys. They're dads in the Perth suburb of Padbury that donate their time and skills to make life a little easier for their neighbours. It started when one of the dads heard of a local mum who was struggling to get ready for her rent inspection. He gathered some mates, they did a busy bee, and she was ready to pass her rent inspection. Great for her. But also great for the dads. They love the connection and sense of purpose getting together and doing that took. So if this is something you'd like to try, you can find them on Facebook, and the ABC have done a story about them. The Feed It Forward Facebook page. So this is a free community forum, anybody can join it. And if you've got extra food, you can post it on there. And if you're looking for food, you can pop out a call out that you need some. I've seen people do pantry clean outs, cook a few extra meals one night and make them available, do a little donation drive themselves and put together a hamper. Some people donate pet food to help those families who are struggling to feed their pets. It's a great forum where you can take a small action and get help directly to somebody who needs it right then and there. Care bags. So these are volunteers that source donations and put together little bags of essential items and some comfort items for children entering the foster system. We've also heard of Dandelions WA that put together kindness kits in the similar vein, and Share the Dignity, which put together bags of sanitary items for women experiencing hardship. All 3 of these, you can Google them and find them. They give you a great example of how to do a small action and make a meaningful difference to people in need. Lastly, we'd love to call out Healing Smiles, which are dentists that get together to do free dental care for women experiencing FDV, and Short Back and Sides, which are hairdressers that get together and do haircuts for homeless people. So whatever your skills or experiences and whatever your time or capability, there are things that you can do to make a difference to people in need. And I suppose we'd love to call out that every time that you can alleviate poverty for somebody really boosts them and means that they can participate more meaningfully in community and gets them to build a good life for themselves, making it not just the right thing to do, but also the best thing to do for all of us. Okay, hopefully you're feeling really inspired now and you're thinking, what can I do? You're also probably thinking, I don't know what to do. So we've got a guided approach to doing some local good. It's a 4-step process, and this is where your resource pack will come in handy. So first of all, we need you to think about a need in your community that aligns with your own personal area of interest. So looking at those 5 dimensions of poverty might help here. Step number 2 is to have a brainstorm around what already exists. You might find great things that you'd like to support or join. You could also find something that you could replicate. You don't have to reinvent the wheel, just pick up what other people are doing. Lastly, think about what strong groups there are in your community that you can tap into for support. So we've heard of men's sheds mentoring youth and playgroups partnering with nursing homes for intergenerational playgroups. Next, we want you to think about yourself. What is your appetite for action? So your capabilities, your skills and experience, your capacity, your time and energy, your connections, who can you tap into, and what do you want to do? Do you want to lead something or would you like to support something? You've got to make it real for yourself. Lastly, what support and resources would you need to bring your idea to life? We want to say first principle, do no harm. So if you'd like some guidance on the best approach for your target recipients, please reach out to No Place for Poverty. We're really happy to mentor and guide people on the best approach. You can email us at connect@noplaceforpoverty.org.au. So that's the guided approach, but what might that look like in reality? First of all, let's meet Jack. Jack is a busy guy. He's working really hard. He's got his family to look after. He cares about people, but he doesn't really have much time to take action. So the dimension of poverty that Jack is interested in is housing and homelessness. When he thinks about what already exists, he doesn't actually know. His appetite for action is pretty low because he's so busy. So for support and resources, he reaches out to No Place for Poverty. We give him reliable, credible sources of information about homelessness. So the action that Jack decides to do is to become more informed and educated about homelessness. And we want to say that is a great way to start. That'll probably plant seeds that at some time down the track will be able to come to fruition. Now let's meet Jill. Now Jill is active in different clubs and committees. She loves getting involved and taking on new projects. She's also interested in housing and homelessness. Through her book club, she heard of somebody who'd recently become homeless, and she's thinking, those kindness kits could be really great. I reckon I could get my book club together to do one. So she gets them together, she's got an appetite to do something, and they start sourcing donations. And actually they get way more stuff than they need for one kindness kit. So they reach out to No Place for Poverty, and we provide them some other avenues of directions they can take for those kindness kits.
Okay, so hopefully you're feeling inspired and realise you can have impact on these issues. So what's next? Well, we can help, so please do reach out and connect. You can email us at connect@noplaceforpoverty.org.au with questions and requests, or just for a chat. Also, we're looking for people to join the movement, so if you've watched this video, please do go to the website, noplaceforpoverty.org.au, and do sign up to our newsletter, which basically means you're adding your name to the movement and you support these changes. So if you're part of a group that wants to do some local good and you've enjoyed this video, we do offer free and practical workshops longer than this that can be tailored to your group's needs. So please do reach out at connect@noplaceforpoverty.org.au. Also, if there's other people, other groups that you think might benefit from watching this video, please do send it to them. The more people this gets to, the better. We'd love to chat to you about how our workshops could support your community need. And obviously, as well, please do join us by signing up to the movement and following us on our social media. Thanks.